Hey kittens, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to take a look at something a little different. It's going to be kind of long, so make sure and grab a glass of wine, some coffee, a nice little snack, and we're going to jump in. So a lot of you know about the James Charles Morphe palette and what that looks like. Let's go ahead and bust that open. So here's the palette. This has been on the market for a couple months. I got this from Ulta for $35. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is this little fella right here. And I purchased this from Amazon for $16.99. And it is called the Magic Eyeshadow Fantasy Changeable. Now, let's bust that open and let me show you guys what that looks like. Does that look familiar, guys? Does it? Now, let's put them side by side. Let's see if we can get all of it in the shot here. Oy vey. So this is what they look like. Your James Charles palette and this new palette that I bought from Amazon. Identical in the colors. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna look at the performance. So I am going to do a simple look on the left eye with the James Charles palette, and then I'm gonna do the same simple look on the right eye using the Amazon changeable palette. We're going to take a look and see if the colors, the formula performs the same, what the colors look like. I'll swatch one or two side by side on my hand, but I will also link the video that I have on the James Charles palette at the end of this video. So kittens, if you're interested in seeing the difference between the two, go ahead and stick around. I'm going to zoom you in a little closer to me, so I will be right back. All right, kittens, I'm back. So I wanted to also mention I am going to be using this. It's a shadow brush color remover. It's like really rough here. So what you do is, and let me go ahead and grab a brush, is you take your brush and you go ahead and rub it around, and it gets off, whoops, all of the powder off of the shadow. So I'll be using that in between the palettes to clean off my brush. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna dip into this color right here. Let's go ahead and dip into that. Right there, we're gonna knock it off some. See all that fallout? But we're gonna take this, oh, that palette is so big, guys, and we're gonna go all over from the brow bone all the way down the lid. And just blend that in. I'm gonna go in and dab a little, grab a little bit more of that same color. Gonna tap that brush off. And this is just going to be a little transition color for us. Alrighty, now that we have that laid down, let's clean off our brush. I'm gonna go into, and I'm gonna call this the Fantasy palette because it does say Fantasy right here. And I'm gonna pick up the same color. Let's see if I can tap it off. So we have fallout there also. So we're going to tap that off. See, there's your fallout. And get my trusty little mirror. And we're going to do the same thing on the right eye. And bring that all the way up. And then all the way down. So all over our lid. I'm going to go back in and grab a little bit more. Tap it off and go all over the lid. All right, kittens. Let's come a little closer so you can see. This is the Amazon palette here, And this is the James Charles palette there. All right, let's go in for a little more color. Let me go ahead and I'm going to grab a brush with a thinner tip on it. And let's jump into, how about we take this color right here. This is the James Charles palette. I'm going to dip in. I'm going to tap that off. Guess both of them have some fallout. So I'm going to take this and go as close to the crease as possible so as not to get too high into the color we just put on. Now you can see that is a nice pigmented color. See how nice that shows up? I will say it is a little patchy, as you can see, but we're gonna fix that. Let's go in a little bit more. And then we're gonna just dab it in. Dabbing it in. Okay. And what I'm gonna do is then now go into, we're gonna blend that out, so don't worry about it. So this is the color we went into on the James Charles palette. So let's go ahead and grab some of that on the Fantasy palette. Knock that off. And then we're gonna do the same thing. Go into our crease right here. So it's Easter weekend, guys. I hope you guys have plans to spend some time with the family, eat a lot of good food. Let's go back in to that same color. Then we're gonna do the same thing and just dab it in there. Dab it in there. Now I'm gonna take next a smaller blending brush that's a little flatter on top so that I can go ahead and we're gonna start with the James Charles side, as that's the side we've been doing first. I can just blend that, and you can come down as far as you want. Let's not just go up too far. Blend that out. Okay. Blending that out. All right, so there we go. And now we're gonna go into the Fantasy side and do the same thing. Clean off our brush. Let's go ahead and move this to over here. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing and just blend that out. Go down as far as we want, just not up as far as, up too far, and blend. My eyebrows are looking mad crazy today, guys. Okay, so let's take a look. James Charles side, and then the Fantasy side. All right, let's go ahead now. We're gonna add in a pop of color. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to go grab some concealer and put it on my lids. So I'll be right back with you guys. I don't want to have you sit through that because it does take me a little minute. So I will be right back with you guys, and we'll play with some more color on the lids to see how, you know, if there's a difference between the two palettes and how those stand out. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, kittens, I'm back, and all I did was I applied some concealer to my lids just to kind of carve out an area now. So we're gonna jump in and play with some color. So let's go into the James Charles palette and let's grab this yellow right here. I think this is such a pretty yellow. So let's see, let me grab a brush. Let's go ahead and grab this brush. Whoops, and down goes that brush. Give me 1 second. And here we go. Okay, so I'm going to clean off the brush, and then I am going to go in and grab some of this yellow right here. I'm going to get it on both sides of the brush. That way I can just flip back and forth as needed. Okay, so that's the James Charles palette. And we're gonna go ahead and put that yellow right in the corner here. Let's go as high as we want because we will go ahead and fix that with a little bit of the crease color once we're done, just to blend everything in. More pat it in. Okay. And this one also is a little bit patchy. And you see the fallout. I'm gonna grab just a tad bit more just so that I can go ahead and pack it on. I always wonder, why is it when we're putting on like eyeshadow or doing anything with our eyes, we have our mouths open, guys. I catch myself doing it all the time. Okay, so that's the James Charles, and again, you can see some fallout. Let's go ahead and grab the same yellow, clean off my brush, from the Fantasy palette, and let's see what that's gonna apply like. So here we go. And I'm gonna do the same thing, grab it on both sides of the brush. All right. And we're gonna do it now. Same thing to the right eye. Okay, what I will tell you right up front, and you can probably see it, more pigmented, less pigmented. Let's see how many times we're gonna have to dip in to the Fantasy palette to try and bring up the color. And what I'll do is I will just press it on. Yeah, that yellow is not the same. We got the same amount of fallout. So this is my third time going into the Fantasy palette. And we're gonna press it on. And press it on. All right, guys, that's the third time going in. So James Charles is a lot more pigmented than the Fantasy palette. I'm gonna go in one more time. So I dipped into the James Charles twice. I dipped into this one 3 to 4 times. And you can see, still not as pigmented. Okay, I'm going to use the same brush and we are going to clean it off. Make sure and get off all that yellow. I want to dip into, oops, this green right here. I think this is a really nice, pretty color. I mean, they're not pastels, but green and yellow are Easter colors. So let's dip into that green. And we're going to pack that on right next to the yellow. Even go over the yellow some. Just pat it on. Pat it on. Right there. All the way up to the crease. And pat it on. Pat. And I'm doing this little like stroking motion so that we can blend them right here at the seam. Let's grab a little bit more. And we're going to do the same thing. Pack it on. Pack it on. And just blend it. All right, so that's the James Charles palette. Let's clean off our brush. And we're going to do the same thing. I wanted you guys to see the fallout too from the yellow. All right, so we're going to go into the same color here, both sides of the brush. Let's see if maybe this green is any more pigmented. We're going to do the same thing on the right side. We're just going to pack it on. Okay, so again, not as pigmented. So we're going to dip in a couple times. This is the second time going in. We did twice with the James Charles palette. And we're gonna pack it on. And let's go in one more time. And this time we're just gonna pack. Pat, 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 pat. Okay, so let's take a closer look. James Charles, nice and pigmented. Fantasy palette, little less pigmented. Okay, so let's finish off the eye with, let's grab one more color. How about we try, let's go with this purple right here. Yeah, this one right here. Let's grab both sides of the brush, and we're just going to finish off the tail end of that eye. The tail end, and we are going to go in first with the James Charles eye, and we're going to pack that on. Oops, I'm sorry guys. Now we're gonna do the same thing, bring it in a little bit to the green to get that blended, but packing it on, packing it on. Let's grab a little bit more and pack it on. All right, and then we're gonna blend it out in the end. And some of that crease color. All right, let's clean off our brush. I told you guys this was gonna be a long one. I just wanted to show you how some of the different colors performed. I didn't want to do just one straight color because that wouldn't help. So let's go ahead and grab this same color, both sides of the brush. All right, and we're gonna do the same thing on this side. We're gonna pack it on. Again, not as pigmented and a little blotchy, this color. Grab some more of it, and we're going to pack it on. I'm gonna go in one more time and pack that on. Okay, so let's take a look at that. James Charles side, Fantasy palette side. All right, so what I'm gonna do, kittens, is I'm gonna get rid of all of this fallout and fly away and then come back to you guys, and we're gonna do some swatches on the hand and see how they apply on the hand. So I'll be right back. Let me just clean this mess up. All right, kittens, so I am back. So again, James Charles eye, Fantasy palette eye. So let's just go ahead and dip into some colors that we did not use from both palettes, and I will swatch them side by side. I have a trusty wet wipe so that we can clean off as we go. I'm going to try and swatch a couple colors, maybe two at a time on my hand. So let's go ahead and let's grab this glittery one right here from the James Charles. And that's what that looks like. And let's go ahead and swatch that right here. Okay, really light. Let's go ahead and dip into the same one right here. And that's what that looks like. And let's swatch that right here. I'm going to grab a little bit more from the James Charles because it has like a coating on top for that one. Okay, so as we can see, the Fantasy palette is a little bit more pigmented on that one than the James Charles palette. Clean off my fingers. Let's see. Okay, let's go into, I want a bright color. This really bright orange here from the James Charles palette. Let's grab that. Okay. And that's what that looks like. And let's swatch that right here. All right, and that was 1, 2, 3, 4 over. So that would be this color right here, the Fantasy palette. That's what that looks like. And let's swatch that right here. So on this one, the James Charles is more pigmented than the Fantasy. So we got James Charles up here, Fantasy, Charles, Fantasy. All right, let's clean that off and let's grab a few more colors. What I will say with both of these palettes, as you guys saw, there's a lot of fallout. Some of the colors in the James Charles palette, as I've been, you know, playing with it and I've had the palette for a while now, they are patchy. I'll be honest, they are a little patchy, but then that's the same thing with the cheaper palette. Okay, let's see. This red one right here is just calling my name. And that's, whoop, what that looks like. And let's swatch that right here. That's James Charles. And let's grab that same color, the Fantasy palette. And let's swatch that right here. Okay, so as you can see, little patchy on both of them. The James Charles one doesn't swatch that smoothly, and neither does this one. However, the James Charles one is more pigmented. All right, let's just do a couple more real quick. Let's grab a blue, just because we haven't looked at any in the blue series yet. Let's grab this one here. This is the James Charles palette. And there we go. Let's swatch that one right there. And let's grab that same blue in the Fantasy palette. And that's that. And let's swatch that right there. Okay, so in the Fantasy palette, this blue is a darker blue than the James Charles blue. This is more of a baby blue, and this is more of like a sea blue. All right, guys, let's just do one more. Just one more for fun. Let's grab one of the browns. Okay, so the red stains a little, that first color. Let's grab one of the neutral colors. Let's go with this one right here. It's a nice goldy color, and this is the James Charles palette. And let's swatch that here. Picks up the light real nice. And let's dip into it in this palette. And let's swatch that right there. Okay, so this one is a little darker, as you can see. It has a little more bronze to it than the James Charles one, but the James Charles one picks up the light a little better. Okay, kittens, so let's just do an overall chit chat of the palettes. You saw the shadows applied, and you saw some of them swatched. What I will say about the Fantasy palette is, I mean, it's a hell of a lot smaller. It's a lot easier to carry around. It's a lot easier to use when you're using it to put on makeup. For travel purposes, you can just stick that in your bag or in your makeup bag. The James Charles palette, on the other hand, as you guys know, it's a lot bigger, a lot more cumbersome to use when you're putting on your makeup. And travel-wise, I've traveled with it before, and it was the only palette I could go with because it took up so much space because of the size of it. Price-wise, $35, because this is a brand name. We all know Morphe. $16.99, not a brand name. I was impressed with this, however. The colors are pigmented. The one thing was there's a lot of building, as you guys saw. A lot of the colors that I use were not as pigmented. But for $16.99, there is some color payoff. You guys saw the fallout. You can't get away with it in either palette. There is fallout. The James Charles palette is very much more pigmented than the off-brand name palette. Again, it's Morphe. It's a brand name. However, if you don't want to spend that $35, but you love the colors in this palette and you don't mind having to build up the colors as you use it, This one for $16.99, basically, I mean, a little half the price, is a good option. Just keep in mind, like you saw when I was doing this eye, you will have to build up the color. I have tried it with a wet brush to apply. The only thing with using a wet brush is the color does not apply as smoothly with your matte colors as it would with a dry brush. But I will say, kittens, I was impressed. Not as pigmented as your brand name one, but still impressive for the price. So I would say if it is you've been looking at the James Charles palette to purchase and you find it a tad pricey or a tad bulky, this might be a great option for you. I will leave the link for this on Amazon down below for anybody who is interested in checking it out. And that's about it. I think that's all I wanted to say about both palettes. I did want to show you guys how it applies. I know this is a longer than usual video, kittens, so I thank you so much for sticking around with me today. Don't forget to subscribe to keep me coming at you. We're going to have a giveaway coming up again real soon in the next upcoming week. So if you want to be a part of that, you must be subscribed. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get notified when I post my videos. And kittens, don't forget to live and play in all that beautiful color. You guys go out there and live your very best life. Thank you guys again for sticking around and have a great day. Mwah.